Hey, I'm back in the house. We are back on CrystalAnn. If you guys have been following me here for a while, you guys know that I've been MIA for a hot minute. I've been actually recording over on Design Bundle's YouTube channel, so if you guys are joining me from there, make sure you guys hit that notification bell down below, as well as the subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. Now that I've announced that I'm back, in case you didn't notice me missing, I'm pretty sure everybody did. I've been super busy working over at Design Bundles. I've absolutely loved being there, but we're back. We're back on CrystalAnn, and I'm so excited. So like I said, if you guys are new here, I hope you guys will join us here. And if you guys are wanting to give me love and support during this time while we rebuild the channel, all you simply have to do is hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and comment down below. You guys would be surprised what those comments will do. So to start it out, I want you guys to say hello. Let me know where you guys are coming from. Did you guys come from the Design Bundles YouTube channel? Have you guys been here waiting for me to come back? Or maybe you just found me? I want to know all of the details in the comments below. To start off on the CrystalAnn channel, we're going to start off with a bang doing the DTF hack. I'm going to teach you guys everything I've learned so far, how to work on the darker garments, how to cure these so that way if you guys want to sell them or maybe store them for later, I've got all the tips and tricks. You're going to find that out in just a few. In case you guys are like, Crystal, what is the DTF hack? I'm about to teach you. So what we're using is the Sublimation printer, which normally you would get something like this on a piece of sublimation paper, and you guys would want to sublimate on a polyester fabric. But with this DTF hack, we are using DTF film and DTF powder to accomplish something like this that you're going to be able to use on cotton fabrics as well as polyester if you wanted to, but you're going to be able to use it on things like canvas, tote bags, and all sorts of stuff. The DTF powder and film that I recommend are these two right here. I like to grab these over on Amazon. I have the links below for you. So this is my powder, and this is the film that I like to use. So it's going to look just like this. It's going to be milky, glossy on one side, and then it's going to be matte on the other. So we're going to be printing on the matte side. The very first design I'm going to show you guys is this one right here because it has nice, bold, rich colors. I want to show you guys how that would pop off of a white t-shirt. First thing that we need to do is grab our design. I'm using a Sawgrass printer, so on your computer you should see something that has a Sawgrass smart folder. If you drag and drop your design inside of that folder, you're going to have Sawgrass Print Manager pop up just like so. So from here, I'm going to be able to send it straight over to my sublimation printer. Now, before we print this, we want to go ahead and prep up our DTF film. Now, if you guys are using something like an Epson for your sublimation, there's a few other tips and tricks that you guys can do to accomplish this. So you guys can actually just load the paper in the back like you normally would, and then slide that film in the front, and it should glide it through. Now that we have our Sawgrass Print Manager ready to go, you're going to need your transfer film, and a piece of just regular copy paper will work. You could use your sublimation paper that's in the printer, but I honestly would just use copy paper so you're not wasting it. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this with that matte side up, and we're going to place it right on top of your paper. We're just going to line those guys up. You're going to need some tape. You can use any sort of tape that you would like, even if it's just like the Scotch tape, painter's tape, whatever you have. So I'm actually just using some of this purple craft tape. So you just want to get you a piece that's going to go from one end to the next. I'm going to go ahead and tear that. So then what I'll do is I'll actually get my paper up. Remember, I'm working with that matte side up. Try to keep your fingers off of it as much as you can. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our tape, and I'm barely getting it up at the top, which I'm going to show you guys that now. So hopefully you guys can see that it's just barely right up here at the top, because you don't want to get down into your image. So one thing you want to keep in mind whenever you get ready to print this, I actually use Canva. I take my design over there and size it out on an 8.5 by 11 paper so it's ready to go. But I like to leave myself a nice gap at the top to allow for the tape, and then also for the machine grabbing it and things like that. So now what we're going to do is I'm actually going to take, so I have the gloss side up now so I can get this lined up here on the back. Sometimes what I'll do too, just to make it easier, is if you start to fold over your tape first, go ahead and get that crease line started and then put your paper on. So remember, the matte side is down temporary just so I can line these guys up. So I'm just lining those up just like so, and then now we're just going to bring that tape down. And then you want to double check, look at it, and make sure everything is lined up. So you should have something that looks like this. So the gloss and the paper are sitting on top of each other, right? Then you simply just want to take some scissors and trim off that extra. You don't want to leave it or it's going to jam up your printer. Try not to get into my paper. And then we should have something that looks just like this. And like I said, it's going to flip up like so. So now whenever we go to load this in the printer, I'm going to load it with the paper side up and the tape side in. So I'm going to load it. Now, while that's printing out, I'm going to give you guys my next tip when it comes to curing. I recommend getting a griddle like this. You can grab them for around $20. Check your cabinet. You probably already have one. You could go to like a thrift store, maybe check grandma's house, your mom's house. Somebody's got one of these griddles. Yard sale this summer. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. I love it. Now, if you guys have a convection oven that is designated to your sublimation as well, you could use that and put a cookie sheet down and kind of do the same thing. I would keep that door open. You could play around with it. Another thing, if you have a bigger heat press like this, you could put it at 385, lower that platen for 20 seconds to heat that up, and then place it on the bottom platen, and it'll also do the same thing. I've also read in the comments in a previous video I did, and somebody said they flipped their Cricut over very carefully, and they placed it on there and did it just like the griddle. Now, if you're gonna do that, please do that at your own risk, because there is safety issues flipping that, handling it, and all of the things. So we're using a griddle. I highly recommend you snag one if you don't have a bigger heat press, because today I'm gonna show you guys this project using your Cricut Easy Press. Now that we have it printed out, you're going to see that we have it just like so. So what I'm going to do is just flip this over, and I'm going to peel the tape off. You can actually set this aside and use it again over and over again until that tape starts to wear down. Next, you want to get yourself like a parchment paper, maybe even like an old tote. You could definitely do just a little small tote container. You could use, I'm just using some copy paper here, just something to grab our powder. You want to work pretty quickly while these inks are wet. Now I can see that I've got some black marks up here. I don't want that to end up pressing on my shirt, so I'm going to get rid of that right away. So we're going to get that out of the way, and then we're just going to take our powder while it's open. I'm just going to get some right here on the end, and carefully work from one side to the next. So you guys see where I'm very carefully grabbing in between these lines because I had to trim away. So I want to be super careful. So you just want to coat this. Now, some people like to coat these twice. I honestly have tried that. I haven't seen any difference, but if it's something that helps you, do it, because everybody is different and everything works differently for everybody, different printers, different everything. Once you have it coated, it should look something just like this. So you can see some of that color through here. Now, if you guys are familiar with sublimation, you guys know that those inks are going to come through light until you press them. Now, our griddle is going to activate our sublimation ink, so you're going to see those come to life. Now, what I recommend is taking my parchment paper. I didn't bring my big ones to the studio, so I'm in the process of moving, so you guys are going to see I'm going to use some smaller sheets. So I'm just simply going to line these guys up. I've got my parchment paper down. I'm going to carefully get that guy right on top. Now what we're going to do is we're going to let this guy just sit here and bake and do its thing for 60 seconds. And I don't know if you guys can see it from this angle or not, but those ink colors are coming to life. So what this is doing is melting down the powder and allowing you to move it around. So now it's just going to be super smooth. You can melt it if you want to. So if you're going to sell these, if you want to store them, make several of them, store them for later, you're going to be able to handle this, where if you don't melt your powders, you're not going to be able to do that. Now, I have taught previously, you don't have to cure this if you're just simply going to take it straight over to the t-shirt. You just want to be nice and careful placing it straight down because you don't want to shift the powders. So if you're going to already just put it straight to the t-shirt, you could skip this step. But this is just showing you guys a hack on how you can cure. Now that that's done, we're just simply going to take our transfer off. And just like that, it is so easy to cure. So this is the backside where the adhesive is, and it is super smooth now to where I can, move it around on the t-shirt. So like I was talking about, if you don't cure it, you would just want to make sure you place it straight down and get ready to press, so that way there's no shifting. But if you want to be able to sell these, store them, or have that little bit of a wiggle room, then you're going to want to cure these. Now what's really awesome about doing that is we can press these at a lower temp. So we're gonna do 300 degrees for 20 seconds. So in the meantime, what we're gonna do to prep up our t-shirt is we're simply gonna go ahead and remove any sort of moisture. I'm using the Cricut 10 by 12 today. I highly recommend if you're gonna get one Cricut Easy Press to go straight for the 10 by 12. You're gonna be able to do so many different projects from little to big. Now that we've got that all smoothed out, we're just gonna go ahead and figure out where we wanna place this. I'm thinking somewhere right about in there. I'm gonna take a couple pieces of heat tape because there's nothing sticky here to help hold this down. We're gonna get the top and the bottom just like that. Now you do not have to put a piece of parchment or anything in between here because we do have this protective piece in between, just like if you were using HTV. So that's technically what this has become, is like an HTV. So we are almost there. We're at 275. So I'm gonna let this finish heating up and we'll be right back. All right, so we are ready to press this. We are gonna get it right on top and we're gonna hit go, 300 degrees for 20 seconds. I'm just gonna hold down pressure just like we were doing an HTV project. All right, we are going to move that out of the way. Now the most important tip, if you're gonna take anything away from all of this today, you have to pill this cold. So if you guys are doing this and you guys are really struggling and you notice that your color's coming up, your materials are coming up, then you probably have pilled it hot or warm. You really wanna get it all the way cooled down. One thing you can simply do is take your t-shirt off of that pad because that's gonna continue to retain that heat. And then you can just fan your shirt like this just to kind of speed that up. Another thing that you can do too is if you have something like granite countertops, you can just flip this upside down and that will help speed that up as well. Now that we have let it completely cool, we're ready for the big reveal. So you're just simply gonna take a corner and pill. How amazing is that? I absolutely love it. The colors are bold and vibrant. It feels so good. Now, if you guys are curious about the wash test, I've been doing this for so long now that it is amazing. They're gonna outlast wash after wash after wash. I just wash them as usual. I'm not somebody that can really inside stuff out and do all of that. I've done those with my wash test, but I have also just thrown these in the wash and I've also thrown them in the washer and they are holding up amazing. Now, like I said, I do highly recommend you check out the film and the powder that I'm using today. It has no smell. You definitely still want to work in a well-ventilated area if you were using any sort of powders or chemicals, but I don't have any smell. It is just the same as if you guys were doing sublimation. Now, the one thing to think about whenever you're doing a DTF hack like this, we do not have the white background layer. So this is going to work perfectly on your lighter garments like white. You know, if you were using like a light gray or a light pink, those light colors, you would be doing it the exact same if you were doing sublimation. So think about sublimation and the way that you would work with those polyester fabrics and use those lighter garments. You're going to do the same, except for you can use cotton. So that's the exciting thing about it. You can use canvas tote bags, t-shirts, all sorts of fun stuff, blankets. You don't have to just stick with polyester fabrics with this one. So you still want to stick to the lighter garments because there is no white backing. But today I'm going to show you guys a tip on how you can accomplish this on a dark garment such as black. You could do tie-dye like I'm going to do today, those darker colors, and I'm going to show you guys how to get that white background. For our next project, we're going to be using this really fun tie-dye t-shirt. I'm going to have it linked down below for you guys. And we're going to be using our Cricut Explorer 3. Now you can use your Silhouette, you could use your Caesar die cutting machine, whatever die cutting machine that you have, you're going to be able to accomplish this. Over here in Cricut Design Space, I've already uploaded my design. This is a PNG, so it's already set at print and cut. What I'm going to do is I want this to be able to print as big as I possibly can. So I'm going to come over here to the red warning. We're going to click on that and we're going to use the new auto resize image. I absolutely love this because it's going to take the guesswork out for me and it's going to set it as big as it can. So this is going to give us almost 10 inches wide, which is perfect for this t-shirt. And so what I'm going to do now is add an offset. This is going to be our white layer. Now this is a very intricate design. I probably picked the wrong design to teach you guys with. But if you guys were using a more flat design, it didn't have a pattern like this, if you guys chose 0.00 for that offset, you guys are going to get a perfect offset that's going to line up perfectly with that design. Now, if you want to add a little bit of a white offset to even help it pop more, you could definitely do that. But because this design is very intricate, what's going to happen is if you try to do that 0.0, it's going to just zero in on one of these small little pieces in the middle. Honestly, I've tried it. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here to offset. So for this one, I'm actually going to go ahead and have an offset just to show you guys. It's going to help it pop off a little bit further. Now, what I would actually love to do is have a white design on this tie-dye, but we're going to do black and then have that white offset here. So we're just going to figure out about how big we want this offset to be. I'm going to bring mine down just a little bit. All right, so I think I'm happy with this right here. What we're gonna do is go ahead and hit apply. So you guys can see that's absolutely perfect. If you're noticing that it's trying to get into all of those little cheetah and leopard print pieces, then bring that offset up just a little bit more. Now, the next thing that we need to do for this offset layer is come up here and change it from a print and cut to a basic cut. You're going to notice it goes from black to gray, and then we're going to go ahead and change that to white. So I'm actually using white HTV. You guys can see if I put it in pink, just so you guys can get an idea of what's happening. Once again, I really want to instill here that you don't have to have the offset on the background. The offset, you could have it line up identical if you wanted to using the 0.00. All right, so here we go. We are ready to go. We're going to go ahead and click on Make It. We're going to go ahead and tell it we're going to cut on the mat today. We're going to hit confirm there. So you're going to notice we're going to get our print and cut design first, which is right here. And then we have our cut layer. So what we need to do is actually mirror both of these because we're working with sublimation technically, also DTF, and we're also working with HTV. All of those things need to be mirrored. So we're going to mirror this, and then we're also going to mirror our HTV. So we're going to start out with our print and cut design. So we're going to go ahead and hit continue. First thing that we need to do is send it to the printer. Now, I'm using a Sawgrass printer, so what I'm going to be doing is actually saving this to my computer first and then taking it over to the Sawgrass Print Manager. If you guys are using like an Epson, you could definitely just choose that printer here and send it straight over. Before you do, I do highly recommend that you turn off the bleed first. Now, if you're using a Sawgrass, you're going to want to go ahead and turn on Use System Dialog. This is very important. This is how we're going to save it to the computer. So we're going to turn that on right here. And we're just simply going to hit print. You're going to notice that it's set at HP and not my Sawgrass because we're not printing it at this moment. We're only saving it, so don't try to be particular about that just yet. So we're going to go ahead and hit print. What you're going to do from this screen is you're going to hit PDF. Once you do, you're going to get the option to save. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this as Lake, and I like to save mine right to the desktop, so we're just going to simply hit save. You're going to find that file on your desktop, and then if you're using Sawgrass, you should have a Sawgrass Smart folder like I talked about before. We're just simply going to drag and drop that in there. So from here, we want to turn the mirror off because we've already turned that mirror inside of Cricut Design Space. Like I told you guys with our first project, I saved my paper so you can reuse it. So we've got our mat side up. I'm just going to line this up. This time I'm doing it with this side up instead of the paper where I can see. And then we're just simply going to fold that down. Now remember, if you use this a few times, you may need to take something. I'm going to take the back of my scissors and I'm just going to rub that tape to make sure it's going to hold it down. You want to double check that everything is lined up correctly. So let's go ahead and get ready to load it in the printer. Now all you simply have to do is hit print and send it over to the printer. So I'm going to go ahead and get us prepped up again and get us ready to cure this. Now that we have this one printed, I'm going to show you guys that again. You want to be careful not to touch your registration marks if you're going to be using your Cricut to cut this out. Now, I'm not using my Cricut to cut this out. If you were going to be printing on sublimation paper or something like that, you may want to use that to line it up because you can't see through. This is transparent so you can see what you're doing. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to cut away my registration marks. You could do this after you get the powder on if you want to, because you're technically wasting time like I am here, because we want to do this while the inks are wet. But I already got started, so we're just going to keep on going. So I'm just going to do that. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to get that out of the way. And then you just want to keep your fingers off of that ink, whatever you do. We're going to take our powder on one end here. And then we're just gonna work our way across just like so. All right, so we're just gonna tilt it back and forth. You can go over this just like this multiple times until you know that everything is covered. Now, speaking of black ink, you guys can see I just used the black sublimation ink. When it comes to your inkjet printers, because I know you guys are all curious and wondering this, we've done multiple tests using our inkjet printers. You can definitely accomplish it, but you will lose color when you go to wash it with the colored inks. But when it comes to the black, you will not lose a thing. So if you do solid black designs, you can use your inkjet printers. Now we are ready for that white background layer. So we're just simply going to take a piece of white HTV. I like to use the Caesar Easy Subli. So we're going to take our green mat here. You can use your blue one if you would like. And we're just simply going to load this with the glossy side down, and we're going to cut it just as usual. So I'm going to go ahead and choose Everyday Iron On. I've already got it mirrored. So we're going to load this guy and let it cut it out. Now, while this guy's cutting out, I have plugged in my griddle once again. I've got it at 385, so I've got to let this guy warm back up. Now, if I was obviously doing these projects, I would make sure that I have both of these guys plugged in, but due to where I'm working, I can't really do that. So this guy is heating up, so I definitely have this heating up while I was getting everything cut out and printed out and all of that. So this guy is going to be ready to go. All right, so this guy's done. So we're simply going to unload this. I'm going to remove it from the mat. I'm going to go ahead and weed this out. We're going to simply weed this guy out here. Now, when it comes to an offset layer, it is so easy to weed because it's just the background layer. So we're just going to go through here and quickly weed this guy out. And once again, this is just kind of giving me that time for my griddle to warm up. This guy is warmed up and ready to go. So I'm going to get down my parchment paper and then get the design down. Now, to answer your questions too, which side am I putting down? I'm putting the glossy side down. So you want the design, which is your adhesive, face up. You don't want to stick that to this. Now, you may notice me using a piece of parchment paper. You can use a Teflon sheet. I definitely think it would be important to use those to protect it from melting on your griddle here. I've read in the comments, like I said in previous videos I have done, to where people have said that that has melted. So it definitely would be safe. I've had no issues using the parchment paper. So in case you guys are wondering why I'm using parchment paper, that's why. Another question that I have seen is where your page may curl like this. What you're going to want to do is take your tweezers. You guys see me using those to be safe. You could use your heat gloves. Obviously, be safe when you're working with hot stuff. But if you notice that those are curling, just use your tweezers for a second to kind of hold that corner down, and then it will start to melt those powders. And usually as it melts, it'll start to grab that paper and then it won't be curled any further. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue until it's completely melted. All right, so our powders are melted and our sublimation ink is activated. So we're simply just gonna pull this guy off, set it aside, and I'm gonna get this guy out of our way. And there we have it, lake mode. So you guys can see that those are all melted there. Now, something I wanna show you, hopefully if you guys can pick this up, see that little bitty smudge there? I'm gonna do this. I'm actually gonna take my scissors here and cut as close as I can without getting into the design to get rid of that smudge. So if you ever have a smudge that's happened and you're able to cut it away, highly recommend that you do so. So now let's get ready to prep up our t-shirt. We're gonna go ahead and pre-press our t-shirt for just a few seconds, pull out any sort of moisture, just like so. Now I have this set at 300 degrees for 20 seconds. The very first layer we're gonna get down is going to be our HTV layer. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to fold this guy in half, and then I'm just gonna get a little pinch there to figure out where that's going. And so from my neck tack here, that's my center. I'm just gonna come down around 4 fingers or so like I usually would. I'm just trying to get that nice and straight, just like that. So what we wanna do is tack down our first layer. So you guys know when it comes to Caesar Easy Subli, you can tack this down for around 2 to 5 seconds. So I'm just gonna hold that for a few seconds, get this guy out of the way. So I'm gonna let it cool for just a second and then we're going to peel. Now keep in mind when you just do a tack down layer that it's not 100%. So you wanna peel nice and slow. If it's starting to come back up with you, just go back down and add a little bit more heat. Perfect. Now I'm gonna hold on to this guy for just a second in case I need it. Now we're gonna go in with our DTF transfer that we made with the sublimation ink. And I'm just gonna go right on top. You definitely wanna make sure you let it kind of cool down just a little bit so that way you're not pre-sticking this while it's still warm. So I'm gonna go ahead and take some heat tape here. I love it, it's looking so cute. And see how it's popping off like a traditional direct to film would that has that white background, so you guys can work on your darker garments. Now, as you guys can see, this perfectly covers my HTV. If it didn't, you can use that layer from your HTV to protect everything, or you can definitely go on top with a piece of parchment paper. So we're just gonna now go on top of this, 300 degrees for 20 seconds. So this is not only going to hold down our DTF transfer, but it's also going to finish pressing our HTV. So you guys can see we're pressing this at a lower temp, which means you guys can use your home iron, you guys can use that Cricut Mini Easy Press, all of those things. All right, so we're gonna carefully move that out of the way. Once again, we are working with the DTF Hack. Our most important thing is letting it completely cool down. So we're gonna get this guy out of the way. And then I'm just simply going to flip this guy over on my granite and then rub it down to quickly cool it down. We are ready. We're just gonna go ahead and get a corner and peel. Now you guys would not believe this hack. It feels like what? It feels like HTV, just the one layer of HTV. They actually melt and blend so good together. It's like stirring and mixing up butter. I'm telling you what, they just melt into each other and you cannot feel the separation whatsoever. So it is really cool. Now, once again, if you guys are curious about a wash test, I have done this and I have washed it. It's holding up perfectly in the washer, through the dryer. You guys wouldn't believe it. It's not moving or budging anywhere. So this is how you're gonna accomplish this on your darker garments, whether you're doing something like a tie-dye like this, or if you are using a dark black t-shirt, or if you guys were wanting to do just a simple white and you don't need that white offset, you could definitely do it just like this. Now, say for example that I wanted to throw in some HTV, you wouldn't need to, because I could just throw in the offset, say for example of green all around this, and print it with the same thing. But I could layer this on top of a white garment as well. I could layer this on top of HT if I wanted to, but that is just the options. I am obsessed with this and I'm gonna be wearing this weekend. You guys let me know, what are you guys doing this Memorial weekend? Any big plans? Do you guys have any big plans this summer? I wanna know all of those details down below. Now, since we're already here and we've already got one printed out and ready to go, we're gonna go ahead and press this on a canvas tote bag so I can show you guys that now. So we're just gonna simply take our Cricut Easy Press. I'm gonna take this right on top of that canvas tote to smooth out any sort of wrinkles, because I've got a few of those going on today. And this is also going to pull out that moisture, so we're just gonna smooth that out. Now, this has actually been printed, and that's why I thought it would be a good idea to show you guys. This has been printed for around a month or so. I've actually done this for a Instagram reel for design bundles, so I've already had this printed out. So I'm like, let's use it. So we're just simply gonna go ahead and get this on our tote bag, just like this. And then we're gonna get that tape. Now, whenever it comes to using your inkjet printer and the colors, if you're going to be printing it on something that you're not gonna wash, like a tote bag, a pillow, like a throw pillow or something like that, a zipper bag, the colors are not going to wash out. You could definitely do that as well. So if I was going to be putting this on a tote bag and I'm not washing it, you're going to be able to accomplish this with your inkjet printers as well. Because I know that's a question for a lot of people, because a lot of people cannot afford to get into sublimation just yet. I know you guys want to, but you can't afford it. So if you're wanting to accomplish these hacks, it's still available for you. You can wash it using just the black ink, because it is a different type of ink. I can't remember, but if you guys know what's the difference between the color and the black for inkjet, let us know in the comments below. But if you're going to be using color, use it on something that you are not going to be washing, and you can accomplish this. You can pull it off. But if you want to be able to wash these things and do the colors and all that stuff, I highly recommend using your sublimation printer. So even if you own a sublimation, you may want to use your inkjet still to save a little bit of dollars there on your inkjet project. Especially if I was just doing this in black like I did, I'd probably just use the inkjet ink so I can save a few bucks. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and let this guy cool again. We're going to get this out of the way. I'm going to flip it over and let it cool down, and we'll be right back. Now that we have cooled it down, we are ready to pill. So we're just going to slowly peel this guy away just like that. You can notice I got a little bit of distressing there. I'm going to show you guys I actually had a little bit of a crease here, which did cause just a little bit of peeling there, but I think the distress look still looks pretty great. So be careful with that whenever you guys are working with the canvas totes. I have also noticed that with my inkjet hack. I noticed with the black on the totes, not the t-shirts, but the totes. And honestly, I've only done the totes, I think, with the inkjet, and I thought it was the ink, but it's not. I think the canvas, you've got to be a little bit more careful, make sure it's completely smooth, and give a little bit more pressure when you go to do that. And definitely make sure you get all of those lines out, but I don't mind that little bit of distress. You guys let me know. What do you think? But there you guys have it, just so you guys can see it on a canvas tote as well. I hope you guys have enjoyed my ultimate hack tutorial. I walked over all of the things from just doing your white t-shirts, your black garments, curing it, tote bags, all of the things. You guys let me know, what do you guys want to see from this DTF hack next? Do you guys want to see the curing on the Cricut Easy Press? Do you guys want to see it on the bigger heat press? Maybe you want to see the bigger heat press projects, or maybe me putting it on some other blanks. Let me know in the comments below, even if you want to see me put it on a black t-shirt so you guys can truly see that as well. I'm definitely down to show you guys all of the things from sublimation to the inkjet when it comes to the DTF. It's one of my favorite things to do right now, and it's definitely trending among you crafters because we're not having to go buy a $20,000 or $100,000 DTF printer, especially when we just need a few of them. We just need a few, right? So we're able to get all of our sublimation things and our DTFs with our sublimation printer, as well as your inkjet. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Once again, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell down below so you guys don't miss a thing.